The conference hall on Valoria Prime stretched for nearly a kilometer, its crystalline walls reflecting the light of 3 suns. Inside, representatives from 47 different species sat in their designated sections, each area customized for their specific environmental needs. The Galactic Coalition Council had stood for 300 years as the ultimate authority in this region of space. And today, they faced what they considered a minor irritation. Council Speaker Velmara raised her 6 arms, calling for silence. The chittering, humming, and various forms of communication ceased immediately. She was old, even by her species standards, and commanded absolute respect. "We gather today to address the human situation," she announced. Her voice translated instantly into 47 different languages through neural implants. "These newcomers have violated our territorial agreements." A holographic display materialized above the assembly floor, showing a blue and green world designated as Kepler 442b. Red markers indicated human settlements spreading across its surface, like an infection. "This world belongs to the Vexorian Empire." Admiral Thalvex stood from his section, his scaled body gleaming under the artificial lights. "My people claimed it 200 years ago. These humans have no right to be there." Envoy Kreepath, a small being with large eyes and delicate features, rose hesitantly. "Honored Council, I must present my findings. I have studied these humans for the past 3 cycles. They are not like other species we have encountered. Their history is irrelevant." Thalvex interrupted, his voice booming. "They are primitives. They only achieved faster than light travel 60 years ago. 60 years. Some species in this chamber have been traveling the stars for millennia." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The humans were indeed newcomers, barely worth noticing. They had established perhaps 20 colony worlds in the Outer Rim, far from the Coalition's core territories. Until now, they had been ignored as insignificant. "They ignored our warnings," Thalvex continued. "They ignored our territorial markers. They settled on Vexorian land, and when we sent diplomats, they sent soldiers." He slammed his fist on the console before him. "This cannot stand. If we allow these primitives to defy us, what message does that send to the rest of the galaxy?" Velmara nodded slowly. "A show of force. 3 armadas. 600 warships. We jump into their system, demonstrate our superiority, and they will have no choice but to withdraw." Thalvex's confidence was absolute. "It will be bloodless. One look at our fleet, and they will understand their place." Kreepath stood again, his voice urgent. "Please, Council, you must hear my full report. The humans, they are different. On their home world, they fought each other for thousands of years. Their entire civilization is built on conflict. They have words for types of war that we do not even have concepts for. They have..." "Enough," Velmara silenced him with a gesture. "Every species has a violent past. We evolved beyond such things. That is why we have the Coalition. Why we have peace." She turned to Thalvex. "You have the Council's authorization. Take your armadas. Show these humans the cost of defiance." The vote was unanimous. Kreepath sat down, his concerns dismissed. He had tried to warn them, but they would not listen. 3 weeks later, Admiral Thalvex stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Dominant Will. Around him, stretched across thousands of kilometers of space, 600 Coalition warships prepared for the jump to the Kepler system. Each ship was enormous, some measuring over 2 kilometers in length. They bristled with weapons, shield generators, and the accumulated technology of 300 years of peaceful cooperation. Subcommander Rilvax approached, his own scales showing the bright patterns of youth and ambition. "Admiral, all ships report ready. Formation Omega is locked. We await your command." Thalvex studied the holographic display showing his armada. 3 full battle groups, each containing 200 vessels. It was overwhelming force for what should be a simple operation. Perhaps it was too much, he thought briefly. But no. Better to ensure complete compliance. Any response from the humans? He asked. Negative, Admiral. They have been silent since we entered their sensor range at the system's edge. Perhaps they are already preparing to evacuate. Thalvex allowed himself a small smile. Begin the jump sequence. All ships together. I want them to see our full strength the moment we arrive. Space twisted and folded. 600 warships disappeared from one location and materialized in another. Emerging from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation above Kepler 442b. The planet hung before them, beautiful and blue, with cities visible on the night side. Scanning for human ships, Rilvax announced. His fingers danced across his console, then froze. Admiral, I am detecting one contact. One colony ship preparing to evacuate? Let them go. We will reclaim the planet once. No, sir. One warship. Designation reading as UHNS Eternal Resolve. It is positioned directly between our fleet and the planet. Thalvex stared at the display. A single contact. One ship facing 600. He had expected a fleet, perhaps a few dozen vessels that would quickly surrender. This was either bravery or madness. Magnify, he ordered. The image changed, showing the human warship in detail. It was smaller than Coalition vessels, perhaps 800 meters in length. Its design was angular, brutal, with none of the elegant curves that characterized Coalition architecture. It looked like a weapon, not a ship. They send one ship? Rilvax laughed. This is their defense? The communications console chimed. A human voice, female, young, transmitted on all standard frequencies. You have entered human-protected space. Turn back now. This is your only warning. The bridge crew of the Dominant Will erupted in laughter. One ship, giving warnings to 600. The audacity was almost admirable. Thalvex silenced them with a gesture. He opened a channel. I am Admiral Thalvex of the Galactic Coalition. You are ordered to stand down immediately and prepare to be escorted from this system. You have 1 standard hour to comply. Silence from the human ship. Begin approach, Thalvex ordered. Formation Omega. Weapons charged but hold fire. Let them see what they face. The Armada began moving forward, 600 massive warships advancing in a perfect crescent formation designed to engulf and overwhelm. It was beautiful, Thalvex thought, a demonstration of power and coordination that no single ship could possibly resist. The human warship did not move. It simply waited, hanging in space like a predator watching prey approach. Thalvex felt a small flutter of unease in his chest, but he pushed it aside. They were the Galactic Coalition. They had maintained peace for 3 centuries. They had superior numbers, superior technology, superior everything. What could possibly go wrong? Captain Jisoo stood in the center of the Eternal Resolve's bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. The view screen showed 600 enemy warships advancing in formation. A sight that would terrify most commanders. She felt only calm. This was what she had trained for her entire life. Distance? She asked quietly. Commander Day 1 checked his console. 55,000 kilometers and closing. They are maintaining formation. Omega. A standard encirclement pattern. Predictable. Weapons status? All systems green. Railguns loaded and charged. Missile tubes hot. Point defense networks active. Energy weapons at full capacity. Day 1 glanced at his captain. We are ready. Hana, the communications officer, was young but steady. Captain, they are hailing us again. Admiral Thalvex demands our surrender. Ignore it, Jisoo said. She had given them one warning. That was more than required by human military doctrine. They had chosen to ignore it. Below decks, the Eternal Resolve hummed with barely contained energy. Unlike coalition vessels, which devoted large sections to crew comfort and scientific research. The human warship was pure function. 80% of its mass was weapons, reactors, armor, and ammunition. The crew quarters were small, efficient, Spartan. Every system served a single purpose: combat. 50,000 kilometers, Day 1 reported. On the bridge of the dominant will, Admiral Thalvex watched his fleet advance. The human ship still had not moved. Perhaps they were frozen with fear, or perhaps their systems had failed. Either way, this would be over soon. 45,000 kilometers to weapons range, Rilvax announced. All ships report targeting locks acquiring. Excellent. When we reach 40,000, have the first wave prepare to fire. A demonstration only. We will put shots across their bow. Show them we mean business. The fleet continued forward, a wall of steel and energy closing in on a single small vessel. It should have been surrender. It should have been retreat. But the human ship did not move. 40,000 kilometers. First wave preparing to fire on your command. Thalvex raised his hand, ready to give the order. Then, the human ship vanished. What? Thalvex spun to his sensor officer. Unknown, sir. Sensors show nothing. It just disappeared from all tracking systems. 3 seconds of confusion rippled through the coalition fleet. 3 seconds of every ship scanning frantically, trying to find the enemy vessel that had simply ceased to exist. Then the Eternal Resolve reappeared, inside their formation, surrounded by coalition warships. All ships, evasive, Thalvex began, but he was already too late. Captain Jisoo had anticipated this moment perfectly. The Eternal Resolve's experimental jump drive, something the coalition did not know existed, allowed micro-FTL bursts across short distances. The math was brutal on the ship's systems, but it placed them exactly where they needed to be. Fire, Jisoo commanded. The Eternal Resolve unleashed everything it had. Railguns fired tungsten rounds at significant fractions of light speed. Missiles screamed from their tubes, each one guided by AI systems that could track and adjust mid-flight. Energy weapons carved through space. Their beams focused with precision that coalition engineers thought impossible. A coalition cruiser exploded first, its shields overwhelmed before they could even register the attack. Then another. Then 3 more, in quick succession. The human ship moved like nothing the coalition had ever encountered. It accelerated, decelerated, turned at angles that should have torn it apart. The crew endured forces that would kill most species, protected by gel seats and neural interfaces that let them function even under extreme stress. Target the command ships, Day 1 said calmly, marking targets on his display. Destroy their leadership first, Jisoo agreed. It was standard human doctrine. Cut off the head, and the body falls into chaos. The dominant will's shields flared as railgun rounds slammed into them at tremendous velocity. Thalvex grabbed his console to steady himself as the ship rocked. Return fire. All ships, return fire, he shouted. But the coalition fleet was in chaos. Their formations were designed for elegant, coordinated assaults against stationary or slow-moving targets. They had never fought an enemy that could appear behind them, above them, moving at accelerations their sensors could barely track. Coalition ships fired, their weapons powerful but slow. The Eternal Resolve dodged, its point defense systems shooting down missiles, while its own weapons never stopped firing. Energy beams that would have destroyed the human ship struck other coalition vessels instead, as the Eternal Resolve used them as cover. We have lost 47 ships, Rilvax reported, his voice rising in panic. 47 in 90 seconds. Thalvex could not process this. It was impossible. One ship could not destroy 47 coalition warships. It violated every tactical simulation, every wargame they had ever run. All ships, focus fire on coordinates 274, he commanded, trying to regain control. 200 ships turned their weapons toward where the Eternal Resolve had been 3 seconds ago. The human ship was no longer there. It had jumped again, this time appearing at the edge of the formation, and 3 more coalition vessels died before they could react. Aboard the Eternal Resolve, the crew worked with machine precision. Every human on that bridge had trained for this since childhood. Earth's military academies taught warfare as both science and art, studying 10,000 years of human conflict. Every cadet studied ancient battles, naval warfare, air combat, armor tactics. They learned not just how to fight, but how to think like warriors. Enemy attempting to reform in Sector 4, Day 1 reported. Negative. Let them gather, Jisoo said. Prepare missile spread Delta. Wait until they cluster together. It was brutal calculus. The coalition was trying to regroup, to concentrate their firepower. Jisoo was letting them, because it made them a better target. 20 coalition ships managed to form a defensive sphere, their shields overlapping for mutual protection. It was good tactics by their standards. Fire spread Delta, Jisoo ordered. 50 missiles launched simultaneously, their trails creating a web of light in space. The coalition defensive sphere targeted them, destroying 30 with their point defense. 20 missiles got through. Each missile carried a penetrator warhead designed to punch through shields and armor before detonating. The coalition sphere ceased to exist in a sequence of explosions that lit up the darkness. Casualties at 134 enemy ships destroyed, Day 1 reported. We have taken damage to sections 7 and 12. Minor structural damage. All weapons still operational. Day 1. Day 1. 3 hours into the battle, Admiral Thalvex faced the impossible truth. His 600 ships had been reduced to 466. The human warship was still fighting, still moving, still killing. All ships, he transmitted, the words bitter. Sir? Rilvax stared at him in shock. 8. You heard me. Retreat. Now, before they kill us all. The coalition fleet broke formation and scattered, each ship jumping away in different directions. It was not an organized withdrawal. It was a rout. Captain Jisoo watched them flee on her view screen. She did not pursue. Her orders were to defend the colony, nothing more. Stand down from combat alert, she ordered. Damage control teams begin repairs. Hannah, send our combat logs to Fleet Command. Let them know the coalition has been repelled. Hannah hesitated. Captain, should we also transmit to public channels? Let the galaxy know what happened here? Jisoo considered this. It would be a breach of protocol, but it would also send a message. She nodded slowly. Do it. Let them see what happens when they threaten human worlds. The battle footage began transmitting across every frequency, spreading through coalition space at the speed of light. The galaxy was about to learn a truth it had forgotten during 300 years of peace. That the most dangerous warriors come from worlds that tried to kill them, and they never forget how to fight back. The footage spread across coalition space like wildfire. Within hours, trillions of beings watched the impossible unfold on their screens. A single human warship, outnumbered 600 to 1, destroying over 100 coalition vessels and forcing the survivors to flee. In homes, offices, and public spaces across 47 different species territories, the reaction was the same. Shock, disbelief, and a growing sense of fear. The coalition had maintained peace for 3 centuries, and in that time, they had forgotten what war truly looked like. On Valoria Prime, Council Speaker Velmara watched the battle footage for the 5th time. Each viewing made it worse. The human ship moved like it was alive, like it could predict what the coalition fleet would do before they did it. Every movement was efficient, brutal, purposeful. How? She whispered. How is this possible? Beside her, Envoy Kreepath stood silent. He had tried to warn them, but they had not listened. Now he spoke quietly. Because they have spent their entire existence learning to kill, Speaker. While we built art and culture, they built weapons. While we studied peace, they studied war. One ship cannot defeat an armada, Velmara insisted, though her voice lacked conviction. Watch the footage again, Creepath said gently. That is not just a ship. That is 10,000 years of human warfare, refined into metal and fire. Every system on that vessel exists for one purpose only: to destroy the enemy. On the bridge of the Eternal Resolve, Captain Jisoo addressed her crew. They had been fighting for 3 hours, and the battle had been won. But the war was just beginning. She knew the coalition would not accept this defeat. Pride would demand revenge. Status report, she ordered. Commander Day 1 pulled up damage assessments on the main screen. Hull integrity at 92%. We took hits to sections 7 and 12, but armor held. Railgun systems functioning normally. Missile reserves at 60%. Energy weapons at full capacity. We can fight again if needed. Jisoo nodded. The Eternal Resolve had been built to take punishment and keep fighting. Unlike coalition vessels with their elegant designs and multiple redundant systems for crew comfort, human warships were designed around a simple philosophy: survive and kill. Hana, open a channel, all frequencies. I want the entire galaxy to hear this. The young communications officer's fingers moved across her console. Channel open, Captain. You are broadcasting to every receiver in coalition space. Jisoo stepped forward, her image now being transmitted across light years. She was not imposing physically, but there was something in her eyes that made those watching understand. This was a person who had seen death and did not fear it. This is Captain Jisoo of the United Human Navy ship Eternal Resolve. 3 hours ago, the Galactic Coalition sent 600 warships to force human colonists from their homes. We gave them one warning. They ignored it. You have seen the result. She paused, letting her words sink in across 1 trillion screens. The Coalition believes it is superior because it has advanced technology and vast numbers. But you have never known war. You have known dominance, which is not the same thing. War is what happens when everything is on the line. When your home, your family, your very existence is threatened. You have lived in peace for 300 years. Humanity has been at war for 10,000. Behind her, the view screen showed images from Earth's history. Ancient battles with swords and spears. Naval warfare with wooden ships and cannons. Trenches filled with soldiers in the First Global War. Nuclear weapons turning cities to ash. Tank battles across desert sands. All of it. Every brutal moment. Part of humanity's education in violence. Every weapon system on this ship is built on principles we learned fighting each other. Jisoo continued. Maneuver warfare. We do not stand still and trade shots. We move, we adapt, we strike where you are weakest. Asymmetric tactics. We do not fight fair. We fight to win. Psychological operations. We broadcast your losses across your own networks, letting your people hear their warriors die. She stepped closer to the camera, her voice dropping but somehow becoming more intense. Total war. This ship has no gardens, no recreational areas, no museums. 80% of its mass is weapons and armor. Our crew quarters are small. Our food is functional. Every cubic meter is dedicated to combat. Because when we build a warship, we build it to make war, not to explore or to impress. We build it to win. Across coalition space, military commanders watched with growing horror. Their ships were multi-purpose vessels, designed for exploration, diplomacy, and occasional police actions. The human warship was something else entirely. A predator in metal form. You sent 600 ships against one, Jisoo said. We destroyed 134 and forced you to retreat. Do you understand what that means? It means you are not ready for war with humanity. It means 300 years of peace made you forget that the most dangerous species is the one that evolved fighting everything, including itself. She let that statement hang in the air for a long moment. Leave us alone. Do not threaten our colonies. Do not send fleets to intimidate us. Because if you do, you will learn what humans do to those who threaten our children. And I promise you, it will be far worse than what you saw today. The transmission ended. On Valoria Prime, the council convened an emergency session. The chamber that usually echoed with calm debate, now filled with shouting. Some species called for immediate peace negotiations. Others, driven by wounded pride, demanded escalation. Admiral Thalavex stood before them, his scales dulled with shame. I have fought in border conflicts. I have commanded fleets in peacekeeping operations. But I have never seen anything like this. They do not fight like civilized species. They fight like animals, like predators. Then we must respond with overwhelming force, insisted Ambassador Rex Khan, his tentacles writhing with agitation. Deploy the Grand Armada. All 2,000 ships. They cannot possibly defeat those numbers. Krepath stood slowly. Can they not? You saw one ship destroy 134 of ours. They have 300 warships in their fleet. Do the mathematics. Impossible. Rexkin spat. No species can build such weapons. There must be limits. There are no limits, Krepath said quietly. Not for a species that learned to split atoms just to build better bombs. Not for a species that fought 2 global wars that killed hundreds of millions. Not for a species that looked at the nuclear fire that could end all life on their planet and decided to build more bombs, bigger bombs, better bombs. Then what do you suggest? Velmara asked. That we simply accept their defiance? Before Krepath could answer, the chamber's communication systems activated. A new transmission from Earth, this time from a human named Ambassador Tae-hyun. The human appeared on screens throughout the chamber. He was older, his hair gray, but his eyes were sharp. Honored Council, he began, his voice calm and measured. I am humanity's representative to the Galactic Coalition. I have lived among you for 20 years. I have learned your ways, your customs, your values. I respect them. But you do not understand us, and that ignorance will destroy you if you do not listen. Images began playing behind him. Footage from Earth's history, carefully curated. This is what we are. We fought with stones and sticks. We fought with bronze and iron. We fought with gunpowder and steel. We fought with machines and chemicals. We fought with nuclear fire and biological weapons. Every generation found new ways to kill each other. And every generation survived to create the next. The images shifted to show massive battles. Millions of soldiers clashing across continents. We have killed more of our own species than any plague, any natural disaster, any outside threat. Over 10,000 years of recorded warfare, we developed strategies, tactics, doctrines. We studied the art of war until it became as natural as breathing. Is this meant to frighten us? Velmara asked coldly. Tae-hyun smiled sadly. No, Speaker. It is meant to make you understand. You sent 600 ships and lost 134. If you send 2,000 ships, you will lose more. If you send 10,000, you will lose even more. Because we do not fight like you. We fight like we are already dead, like we have nothing to lose, like every battle might be our last. He paused, his expression hardening. Leave us alone. Let us settle our colony worlds in peace. Trade with us, negotiate with us, even argue with us. But do not make war on us, because we are very, very good at war. The transmission ended, leaving the council in silence. The debate in the Coalition Council chamber lasted for 3 full days. Outside, across 47 different species territories, civilian populations watched and argued among themselves. Public opinion split sharply down the middle. Some saw humanity's victory as proof that the coalition had grown soft, that 300 years of peace had made them weak. These voices called for military reform, for new weapons development, for a return to vigilance. Others saw it differently. They recognized that humanity represented an existential threat, something that could potentially destroy the coalition if pushed too far. On the industrial world of Mekros VII, Workers in a massive shipyard stopped their construction of a new coalition cruiser to watch news broadcasts. The ship they were building measured 2 kilometers in length, had crew quarters for 800 beings, multiple scientific laboratories, observation decks with spectacular views, and weapons systems designed primarily for show. "We build the wrong ships," one worker said to another. "What do you mean? Look at that human vessel. Small, compact, nothing wasted. We build monuments to our technology. They build weapons." Similar conversations happened across the galaxy. The battle had fundamentally changed how species viewed themselves and their military capabilities. In the council chamber, Admiral Thalvex presented a detailed tactical analysis. His flagship had recorded every moment of the battle, and coalition strategists had studied the footage frame by frame. The human vessel demonstrated 7 distinct tactical capabilities we did not anticipate, he explained, highlighting portions of the battle on holographic displays. First, micro-jump technology. They can perform short-range faster than light transitions, appearing anywhere within a combat zone instantly. We have no countermeasure for this. He brought up another segment. Second, acceleration profiles that exceed our understanding of inertial dampening. Their crew withstood forces that should have liquefied organic tissue. Either they have technology beyond our comprehension, or their biology is more resilient than we assumed. More likely both, Krepath interjected. Thalvex continued. Third, weapon systems with recharge rates we thought physically impossible. Their railguns fired continuously without overheating. Their energy weapons showed no degradation. Their missiles employed AI guidance systems more sophisticated than anything in our military. The council listened in uncomfortable silence as he detailed the remaining 4 capabilities. Point defense networks that achieved 97% intercept rates, electronic warfare systems that disrupted coalition communications, armor that absorbed damage far beyond its apparent mass, and tactical coordination that suggested a level of crew training unprecedented in coalition experience. In summary, Thalvex concluded, we lost not because of superior numbers or technology on the human side, but because they have optimized every aspect of their military for one purpose: killing the enemy. They do not care about elegance or efficiency or crew comfort. They care about victory. Ambassador Rexcan stood, his tentacles waving in agitation. This analysis changes nothing. They have 300 ships. We can field 2,000. The Grand Armada will crush them through sheer weight of numbers. Will it? Krepath asked quietly. Based on the battle data, one human warship can destroy approximately 0.22 coalition vessels before being overwhelmed. 300 human ships, therefore, could destroy over 600 of ours before we achieved victory. And that assumes they do not have additional tactical surprises. Acceptable losses, Rexcan insisted. To you, perhaps, a new voice spoke up. Ambassador Shelva, representative of one of the coalition's founding species, rarely spoke in council sessions. When she did, others listened. But 600 ships means approximately 400,000 crew members dead, 400,000 families receiving notification that their loved ones died in a war of choice, not necessity. Are you prepared to explain to them why their sacrifice was necessary? Because these humans challenged our authority, Rexcan shouted. They settled an unclaimed world, Shelva corrected calmly. The Vexorian Empire marked it on maps 200 years ago, but never established settlements. Under our own laws, human colonization is legitimate. This triggered another wave of arguments. The legal questions surrounding the dispute were complex, but the underlying issue was simple. The coalition's pride had been wounded, and some members wanted revenge, regardless of cost. While the council debated, events were moving forward. On Earth, Fleet Admiral Boram reviewed deployment schedules in the United Human Navy headquarters buried deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The eternal resolve had bought them time, but she knew the coalition would not accept defeat easily. Analysis suggests they will deploy their full military strength, her intelligence chief reported. 2,000 warships, possibly more if they conscript civilian vessels. Boram nodded. She was old enough to remember the colony wars, when human factions fought each other for control of the outer system settlements. Brutal, vicious conflicts that taught hard lessons about space combat. Current fleet status? 300 frontline warships ready for deployment. Another 500, in various stages of construction. Planetary defense networks at full capacity. Orbital weapons platforms. Operational. BORAM studied the tactical displays, showing human space. 20 colony worlds, each with its own defensive fleet. Hundreds of outposts and mining stations. Billions of humans who had left Earth seeking new homes among the stars. Issue deployment orders. I want battle groups stationed at every colony world within 72 hours. Priority goes to Kepler 442b. If the Coalition attacks again, they will hit there first. Should we recall the deep space exploration vessels? Negative. I want them to continue mapping the outer rim. If this goes badly, we may need new territory to disappear into. BORAM did not say the rest. That if the Coalition truly committed to exterminating humanity, even their advanced weapons might not be enough. The mathematics were brutal. BORAM. 2,000 ships against 300. The humans would win, but at a terrible cost. Back in Coalition space, the Council finally reached a decision. The vote was close, but the Hawks prevailed. The Grand Armada would be deployed to Kepler 442b. Humanity would be given one final chance to surrender peacefully. If they refused, the Coalition would use overwhelming force. Velmara made the announcement to the galaxy. The Galactic Coalition does not seek war. But we cannot allow territorial violations. The humans will withdraw from Kepler 442b or face the consequences. The reaction from Earth came within hours. Ambassador Taehyun appeared again, this time looking far less diplomatic. The Coalition threatens to send 2,000 ships against our colony. You believe this will intimidate us. You are wrong. Humanity does not respond well to threats. We have a saying on Earth. The more you tighten your grip, the more systems will slip through your fingers. End quote. 1. He leaned forward, and for the first time, the galaxy saw genuine anger in a human's eyes. Send your armada. Send every ship you have. We will meet you at Kepler 442b, and we will show you what happens when you threaten our people. You think you saw war before? You saw a skirmish, a demonstration, one ship defending one world. Behind him, images appeared showing massive shipyards in Earth's orbit, thousands of workers constructing warships on assembly lines, massive railguns being loaded onto planetary defense platforms. You want to see what humanity looks like when we go to war? When we mobilize our full industrial capacity? When we stop being polite and start being efficient? Taehyun's voice dropped to something cold and hard. Then come, bring your Grand Armada, bring everything you have, and we will teach you a lesson that you should have learned 300 years ago. Peace is not the absence of the capacity for violence. Peace is the choice not to use it. The transmission ended. On Valoria Prime, Velmara sat in her private chambers, the weight of decision heavy on her. She had voted to deploy the Armada, believing it was necessary to maintain Coalition authority. Now, watching the human ambassador's response, she wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. Krepath appeared at her door, uninvited. I do not wish to hear more warnings, Envoy. Then hear a prediction instead, Krepath said, entering anyway. A battle will occur, and many will die on both sides. Perhaps we will win through numbers. Perhaps the humans will win through skill. But either way, the Coalition will be fundamentally changed. We will have learned that we are not invincible. That peace cannot be maintained through force alone. What would you have me do? Velmara asked, tiredly. Stop the Armada. Negotiate. Accept that these humans are not like other species, and that trying to force them into compliance will only result in blood and fire. Velmara shook her head slowly. The vote has been cast. The Armada deploys in 3 days. May the ancestors help us all. The Grand Armada assembled at Rally Point Sigma, a designated staging area 50 light-years from the Kepler system. 2,000 warships, representing 47 different species, gathered in formation, creating a sight that had not been seen since the Coalition's founding wars 3 centuries ago. Admiral Thalvex commanded from a new flagship, his previous vessel having been too damaged in the first battle. He studied the massive fleet displays with mixed emotions. This force could conquer entire star systems, could reduce planets to ash, could enforce the Coalition's will across the galaxy. Yet he remembered that single human ship, moving like death itself through his armada. "All vessels report ready," Subcommander Rilvax announced. Unlike their first encounter, his voice held no mockery now. He had learned respect for the enemy, paid for in the lives of thousands of crew members. Long-range scans of the Kepler system? Human fleet detected. 300 warships in defensive formation around the colony world. They are waiting for us. Only 300. The numbers should favor the Coalition overwhelmingly. 2,000 against 300. But Thalvex had run the simulations repeatedly, using data from the first battle. The results were not comforting. Victory was probable, but would cost at least 600 Coalition vessels, 600 ships, 500,000 crew members. "Begin jump sequence," he ordered. "All ships maintain formation. No heroics, no individual actions. We stay together and use our numbers." Space folded, and the Grand Armada materialized in the Kepler system. Fleet Admiral Boram watched from the bridge of the UHNS Indomitable, the flagship of Earth's defensive fleet. Surrounding her vessel, 300 human warships hung in space like a wall of steel between the Coalition and the colony world. "Enemy fleet detected," her tactical officer reported. 2,000 vessels, multiple classes. They are forming into attack waves. Boram had studied Coalition tactics extensively. They favored overwhelming assaults, using superior numbers to crush opposition through sheer firepower. It was effective against most opponents. But humans were not most opponents. "All ships, Formation Delta," she ordered. "Wolfpack tactics. Captains have full tactical autonomy. Remember your training." Unlike the Coalition's rigid command structure, human naval doctrine emphasized independent action. Each ship captain could make split-second decisions without waiting for orders from admirals light minutes away. It made human fleets unpredictable, chaotic, difficult to counter. Captain Jisoo aboard the Eternal Resolve smiled grimly. Her ship had been repaired and rearmed, every system brought back to full capacity. She had proved that one human warship could face impossible odds. Now she would prove it again, but this time, with 300 sisters at her side. The battle began at dawn over Kepler 442b, the colony world hanging like a blue jewel behind the human fleet. The Coalition's first wave, 500 ships, advanced in perfect formation. "Engage," Boram ordered simply. The human fleet did not charge forward. Instead, individual ships and small groups broke formation, each following their own attack vector. To Coalition observers, it looked like chaos. It was actually precisely orchestrated disorder. 30 human warships jumped into the middle of the Coalition's first wave, appearing among the enemy vessels before they could react. Railguns fired, missiles launched, energy weapons carved through shields. The Coalition formation collapsed into confusion as human ships moved through them like sharks through a school of fish. "Second wave, advance!" Thalvex ordered, trying to reinforce his crumbling first line. More Coalition vessels poured into the battle, their weapons firing in massive volleys. Space filled with energy beams, missile trails, and the bright flashes of exploding ships. Human vessels took damage, their shields flaring under the assault. But they kept moving, kept fighting, kept killing. Commander Day 1 coordinated the Eternal Resolve's weapons with practiced efficiency. Target that command cruiser. Railguns, continuous fire, missiles away. The Coalition cruiser's shields held for nearly 10 seconds before collapsing. Tungsten rounds, moving at relativistic speeds, punched through armor like paper. The cruiser broke apart in a cascade of explosions. New target, bearing 270. Enemy battleship attempting to flank our formation. Captain Jisoo adjusted course, the eternal resolve performing maneuvers that pushed her crew to their physical limits. The gel seats absorbed some of the force. Neural interfaces helped them remain conscious, but every evasive maneuver was agony. Worth it, Jisoo thought, as their weapons found the battleship's weak points. The battle raged for 6 hours. Coalition numbers kept pressing forward, wave after wave, attempting to overwhelm the human defenders through sheer mass. But every wave lost ships, and the humans gave ground slowly, making the coalition pay for every kilometer. On the colony world below, 3 million settlers watched the battle in the sky. Mothers held children, fathers stood on rooftops, all of them looking up at the lights that represented their fate. They had voted to stay despite the warnings, despite knowing war would come. Because this was their home now. And humans did not abandon their homes. Admiral Thalvex watched his casualty reports climb with growing horror. The human fleet was down to 200 vessels, but they fought with undiminished ferocity. Every coalition ship they destroyed felt like a victory to them, even as they died. All remaining ships, concentrate fire on Sector 7, he ordered desperately. Focus everything on breaking their center. 800 coalition warships turned their weapons toward a cluster of 50 human vessels. The combined firepower was astronomical. Enough to sterilize a planet. The human ships disappeared in a wall of fire and energy. When the sensors cleared, 30 human ships remained, damaged but still fighting. 20 had died, but they had taken 40 coalition vessels with them in their final moments. How? Rilvax whispered. How are they still fighting? Thalvex understood now what he should have realized from the beginning. The coalition fought to win. Humans fought because they did not know how to stop. Even when defeat was certain, even when survival was impossible, they kept fighting because surrender was not in their nature. All ships, he broadcast across the fleet. Cease fire. Cease fire. Immediately. The order confused many commanders, but they obeyed. Slowly, the massive battle slowed, then stopped. Nearly 14 hours had passed. The space around Kepler 442b was filled with debris, with dying ships, with the bodies of hundreds of thousands. Fleet Admiral Boram, her flagship damaged but operational, received Thalvex's transmission. I am Admiral Thalvex of the Galactic Coalition. I request terms for ceasefire. Boram looked at her surviving fleet. 140 ships remained operational. They had inflicted devastating casualties on the coalition, destroying over 800 enemy vessels, but at terrible cost. 160 human warships were gone, their crews dead. Stand by, she transmitted, then opened a channel to Earth. The response came from the civilian government, not the military. The President of the United Human Confederacy, speaking with Ambassador Tae-hyun beside him. Admiral, you have defended our people with honor. But continuing this battle serves no purpose. Both sides have bled enough. Negotiate a peace. Boram nodded slowly. She opened a channel to Thalvex. Admiral, we are willing to discuss terms. The Treaty of Kepler was negotiated over the next week aboard the Eternal Resolve. Council Speaker Velmara came personally, accompanied by representatives from all coalition species. The humans sent Ambassador Tae-hyun and Fleet Admiral Boram. The terms were straightforward. The coalition would recognize all current human colony worlds as sovereign territory. A demilitarized zone would be established between coalition and human space. Both sides would exchange ambassadors and open peaceful trade. The coalition would never again threaten human civilians. In return, humanity agreed not to expand their territory for 50 years, to share certain defensive technologies, and to allow coalition observers at human military academies. They also agreed to provide mercenary protection services to coalition worlds threatened by external forces. You wish to hire human warriors? Velmara asked in surprise. Taehyun smiled. We are very good at war, Speaker. But we prefer to use that skill in defense of others rather than conquest. Pay us fairly, and human ships will defend coalition worlds as fiercely as we defend our own. The treaty was signed in the Eternal Resolve's conference room. Captain Jisoo stood witness, her ship having earned its place in history. In the months that followed, the galaxy slowly adapted to its new reality. The coalition began redesigning its military vessels, incorporating lessons learned from human warfare. Several species requested to send officers to Earth's military academies, wanting to learn the tactics that had proven so devastatingly effective. Human colonies expanded carefully within their permitted zones. Trade flourished between human and coalition space. Tensions remained, but now tempered with mutual respect rather than contempt. Captain Jisoo was promoted to admiral and given command of the border fleets. Commander Daewon became an instructor at the Human Coalition Warfare College, established on a neutral station. Communications Officer Hana's battle transmissions were studied in tactical courses across the galaxy. The Eternal Resolve was repaired and returned to active service, but its name now carried weight throughout Coalition space. Other human warships received similar recognition. The galaxy learned their names: indomitable, defiant, relentless, unyielding. Ships that had fought impossible odds and survived. 10 years after the Battle of Kepler, Ambassador Taehyun retired. On his last day, Council Speaker Velmara asked him a question that had haunted her since the war. If we had sent 10,000 ships instead of 2,000, would you have defeated us? Taehyun considered this carefully. Probably not. You would have won. Through sheer numbers. But it would have cost you 5,000 ships, and every species in the coalition would have questioned whether victory was worth that price. Would your people have surrendered? No, Taehyun said simply. We would have fought until every ship was destroyed. Every world was ash. Because humans learned a long time ago that there are things worth dying for. Our freedom is one of them. Velmara nodded slowly. I am glad we made peace. So am I, Speaker. So am I. In the decades that followed, humanity became an integral part of galactic civilization. Their warriors were sought after as defenders, their engineers respected for their practical designs, their diplomats valued for their directness. The galaxy had learned to respect the species from Earth, not for their technology or their culture, but for their absolute refusal to be conquered. And in the deep darkness between stars, human shipyards continued their work. Building vessels of war, yes, but also colony ships, research stations, and trading vessels. Because humanity had proved they could fight, and now they could focus on what they had always wanted. To explore, to grow, to build homes among the stars. The galaxy was vast, and humanity was ready to find their place in it, one world at a time.